here. Sorry, my eyes are tearing up. Probably because of the plight of the red man. Let's see. Where's that shadow is coming from there? So as they say, I would need a fill here if, you know, if I care. All right. Day 2. So, as you see, I moved the clocks. And Korea map right there. So if I go like that, I think maybe if I go like that, then then you can see the Korea map. There's a Punggye-ri. Why, of course it's an old-timey mic. But let's see, you can't see all the cool enhancements. Like I have an old-timey photo of the Northrop Black Bullet from World War II. Yeah, I definitely can. And you can see the red dot now. There's Punggye-ri, the nuclear test site. Pyongyang's down there. Then here, of course, is Japan in relation to Korea. Right there. So, yeah, I am kind of rocking a bit of a surfer vibe today with my San Francisco Seals hat. I'm not real happy with my internet connection. 'Cause I have a extender, you know, that uses the house wiring. And usually they work really well. I have to remember to not block the clock. Don't cock block the clock. And then my John Wayne right there. Maybe I can move John Wayne up there. Okay. So Armstrong says that we are loud and clear. We're Lima Charlie. We're licking chicken. All right. So a few more tweaks, and we should be good. There we go. Yeah, no, I agree, Jim, that we are going to have like a 4K screen, and then for other smaller maps, you know, I will literally like print a map up and put it up. I see this is a really cool little bit of Northrop history. I can also go like that and make that smaller. Right here. Really, really cool thing that they did before during the competition between the F-22 and the F-23. And so this was in, you know, the mid-90s that they came out with this. And the F-23 was the Northrop air superiority fighter. See, same trouble spots. I was Navy ROTC. I was a Marine option in Navy ROTC, which means because the Marine Corps does not have an ROTC, because as it turns out, the Marine Corps part of the Navy, and so I was a Marine option in Navy ROTC, and I was going to be a Marine aviator. So my freshman year, I got the designator, the whatever it is, the 1805. And I went up to Fairchild Air Force Base, and I had a middle-aged woman put her finger there. And So that was kind of an education for an 18-year-old. That was fun. So then I got to I got to wear the Eagle Glow Anchor, and I really, really, really wanted to be a Marine Corps aviator. But then by the time I was graduating from college, all my friends coming back from Seattle, all my frat brothers, in Seattle in 1988, if you had a college degree and you were not a vested stockholder in some startup, then you were a moron. So I have friends who worked at Macaw Cellular, if you recall that provider, one of the first in America, and they stuck with the company. I have friends who were in the triple digits at Microsoft. They were employee, 550 and 491 and shit like that. And I have a friend who left Arthur Andersen Accounting to become one of the chief accountants at Alaska Airlines. Then he took his money out of Alaska Airlines and he went to work at a startup bookstore called Amazon. And he did 5 years in Amazon, and he got enough money to retire. So now he owns a chain of indoor soccer stadiums in the Northwest called Arena Sports. Really, really good guy named Don Crow. He loved soccer, played soccer at the University of Washington, and he made his money, and he said, why am I coming to work every day? Why am I going through this bullshit, the traffic in Seattle? Why am I not doing what I want to do? And what he wanted to do was soccer. So he started Arena Sports, which is a huge indoor chain of soccer gyms. I don't know why there's not something like that here in LA, honestly, because the reason you do it like that in the Northwest is because of the winter, because of the rain. The reason you would do it here in LA is because of the heat, but it would also be more expensive because you would have to air condition it. But then again, solar is a lot cheaper. So here's the thing, by the way. I might hire a salesperson to sell Dark Secret Place on YouTube because we have the numbers in, and they're pretty impressive for how long people watch. Now, one of the things that we want to go after is solar because yeah, but if I move it lower, you can't see that it's an old-timey mic. But one of the things that we want to go after is solar, because that's a very sort of Dark Secret Place thing. Would be the idea that you get off the grid with woo, blue light, woo, red light. Look, it's police. Because there's a lot of features of solar. And believe me, I'm no greenie, but there are a lot of features about solar that I like as a kind of off-the-grid guy, and that's the main one, is being off the grid, because where we live, we have a well. The well is phenomenal water. I mean, it's really, really amazing water, and what's funny is the line was put in 30 years ago. The initial water level 30 years ago, because we had to replace the well pipe, the well line. And the initial line that went in 30 years ago, the water level has gone up. I mean, even during the drought over the last 5 years, the first man-made drought in California, our water level was like 4 times what it was when the well was first put in. So anyway, what we would need in the event of, thermonuclear war or whatever, or zombie apocalypse, is we would need power for the well. So we have a generator for the well, and that gives us water pressure and the whole thing. But I'd love to put that on solar. So we're going to talk to some solar people about that. Solar panels are cheaper now than ever. It's really pretty amazing. Otherwise, for the sustainability bullshit, it's really not it for me. Sustainability for me is hydroelectric dams, nuclear power plants, and greasel. That's really all I care about. But like where we are, we have water and we have eggs We've got 12 eggs a day, usually sometimes as many as like 20 eggs a day. And we just can't eat enough eggs. That's the thing. We wind up giving eggs to the dogs. We have one dog who's almost 15. So anyway, so let's see. North Korea, by the way, canceled the coordinating meeting today that was supposed to happen in the South. And so they're trying to figure out what this means. You know, is North Korea, are they having the yips on this, you know, or what? So we will see. A cautionary note, by the way, I actually deleted yesterday's set test because I got off on a tangent about the state of California and these things here. And I said the word, whatever this is called here, the thing attached. You can see the butt sticking out of this helmet bag. Whatever that is, I said the name a couple times. And I talked about the amendment to the Constitution that tells government what it can't do. Well, I actually got, YouTube actually put some editorial content things on there because I think I triggered, you know, some kind of algorithm or something when I said, you know, the name of this thing here. So I got to watch that. I can still go on the tangents, but there's a couple things I can't do. I can't say the F word. I can probably say F word, but I can't say, you know, the full F word like I was yesterday. I can still swear every once in a while. I mean, fuck, right? But when you kind of trigger the YouTube algorithm, then that's kind of you know, the cautionary place for me. So I got to watch that. So I might have to come up with code names for what we're talking about. So we'll cross that bridge when we have to cross the bridge. Let's see. So yeah, let me ask you, what about a fill light here? You see, this is lit now, a lot better than yesterday. And the old-timey, is the old-timey light bulb visible or not visible? You can't see the old-timey bulb, can you? I want you to see the old-timey bulb. All right, hang on. Then I'll do that. I'll do that so it looks it looks a little more old-timey when it's swinging around like that. And you can still see the clocks. The top clock is Los Angeles. The bulb's right there, see? Old-timey bulb. And don't surprise me because I have my throwing tomahawk right here. And as with all things, I always attach a dummy cord. I have no idea why they sold it without a dummy cord, but you got to have a dummy cord, and it's got to be an unnatural color so that you can see it. And then I use denatured alcohol cooking stoves, so I always buy the really big one. You know what I might do tomorrow is I might do a demonstration of cooking time between a full-on butane cooking stove, camping stove, a denatured alcohol stove, and then if you know the familiar Esbit stove, the German Army cooking stove from World War II with the little fuel tabs. Those are great. They're really convenient. You can't beat them for size and portability. You just cannot. It's just that they take a while to cook. This is the bigger British one. The Brits made a big one that can actually hold a pot. You put the fuel tab right there. The East Germans, they took the standard Esbit stove, and I don't know why I don't have one handy to show you. And I don't want to bore you. Hang on a second. Where the fuck is my little Esbit stove? I don't know. I think I know. No, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Well, anyway, if you've ever seen the original German Bundeswehr or Wehrmacht German World War II Esbit stove, the East Germans made it even simpler. The East Germans actually made a pretty rugged little one. Super, super simple. The way that this is going to work, by the way, is effectively, someone asked about the Patreon thing, is that things like this, there's going to be, you know, general public broadcasts, you know, like this. But if, you know, something special comes down or whatever, as a premium to people who are original, you know, Patreon contributors, then there's going to be premium content, like on a Friday afternoon. You know, there'll be a regularly scheduled broadcast. You'll get a text message, and it'll say, you know, hey, the noon rundown or the noon briefing or whatever. So that'll be one thing. Plus, there will also be small group one-on-one chats. Because in a lot of these kind of things, to be honest with you, answering questions like this is not going to happen. I'm going to, you know, come on and dump some info and then GTFO. So it won't be like this, but you guys are hanging out. So I would encourage you to go to patreon.com, Dark Secret Place, Patreon, Dark Secret Place. Yeah, I think that if you're already a ConnectPal subscriber, I'm going to morph all those email addresses and give them access to some of the premium videos. This is one thing ConnectPal has never done, is do live streaming. Hey, lundpix@mac.com, just email me at darksecretplace@protonmail.com because I can't archive the questions. So email me at darksecretplace@protonmail.com, which reminds me, I should put that up here, right? I need a banner. Usually, I think YouTube actually puts it in. Yeah, if you go to Patreon, Dark Secret Place, if you want the, you know, every once in a while we're going to have a really small, like 5-person or 10-person chat that'll be like an hour long, like a video conference, and there'll be other information there, no holds barred, all the questions you want, you know, things like that. So yeah, that reminds me, I need a fixed email address up here that I guess would say darksecretplace@protonmail.com. And then, yeah, I need to raise this map. Oh, hang on, I got to sneeze. All right. Sneeze executed. Yeah, this is a really, really good looking map, and I need to move it. It's actually from one of our soundboards in KFI. See? That's gonna be a collector's item right there. Well, as usual, today's watch is my Luftwaffe, my LACO 1925, LACO 1925. But yeah, that's a really good looking map. Yeah, so back on ConnectPal, there's not a live streaming option on ConnectPal, which I think is a huge shortcoming. that if you want to do a live show for the people paying you, that you do that. And it wouldn't be too hard to do video as well. So anyway, that's why because I want a functionality that effectively is going to wind up being, you know, a single source, a single web page called unsheepyourself.com. I'm having to do, you know, a podcast on ConnectPal and then a TV channel here on YouTube, and I've got a lot of people who want to help with the YouTube channel and all that. And so for 2018. I can kind of see the way this is heading, that 2018 ends probably with unsheepyourself.com or darksecretplace.com being a one-stop shop, like an information stream with different contributors. And then someone asked about the Maven. The Maven was started by a really good friend of mine that I grew up with, who started scout.com, rivals.com, a bunch of things. And it was supposed to be sort of an information portal with all these different experts, all these mavens. But again, the functionality that I was promised, that there was supposed to be a content provider's mobile app where I could upload like this to YouTube, only to the Maven. And it hasn't come through. They're still working on it. So I can't sit around and wait for that. Even though I'm a part owner, I'm not writing the code. I'm not directing any of the people who are, it's being done by a bunch of IT people who have never been broadcasters. And this is the dilemma that I have in my business, being a content creator and working with IT people whose entire job in life is to create code, not content. And they get this misimpression that the purpose of all that startup money is for them to write cooler code that works smoother, not to get functionality up there for the content providers. And that's a big problem. So if anyone out there wants to be an early angel investor for that, I have a code person, and she has a long track record going back to 2000 of putting up dynamic websites that feature, you know, video components and all that. But because as you see, just yesterday, having a really frank talk about California and gun law in 2018, I got a caution from YouTube, and I don't want to deal with that. You know, I want a real broadcast opportunity here that's not like KFI, where I'm going to get fired. You know, I would have been fired 5 times already in the last 10 minutes. So I don't want that. So I want, you know, unfiltered me. If you mean Phil this way, yeah, I think so. What were we talking about? That, yeah. So I don't want to have to sit here and worry about YouTube, because I'm really surprised. I got to say, there's a lot of firearm people on YouTube, and if YouTube can't be that anti-gun, because they've got loads and loads and loads of video of gun reviews and things like that. I think YouTube is more concerned about language, because that's where, with like Shield Group, you know, the gun guys up in Boise, one of the things that we want to do, one of the things that would look really, really cool is if you have access to a VR system, even something as simple as Google Cardboard. If you don't know what this is, you can buy Google Cardboard. These are $3.99, right? You put your phone right there, and you close it up, and it comes with straps. You put this thing together, and you have VR goggles, right? You put earphones in, and it's absolutely, completely immersive. It's really amazing. So that's Google Cardboard. If you don't want to do that, you can go to Walmart right now to the electronics section, because they're overstock on these things. This is a VR headset, very adjustable, works for adults. You put your smartphone in there, shut it, adjust the ocular eyepieces. Again, you know, stick your headphones out of here, put headphones in, and it is amazing how immersive this shit is. It is phenomenal. And so what the best use for those is for video that I shoot on any of my VR cameras. And so what we would want to do would be have one VR camera mounted on a weapon that we're testing. And the actual mic on this, on the LG 360, is pretty phenomenal. It picks up sound 360 degrees. It's really amazing. So mount this on a weapon, you know, like so, and then put the other VR camera downrange at the impact zone or the target area, and do gun reviews like that, you know, and also do other videos, other real-time videos of how to zero an optic. You know, like if somebody you know buys an ACOG or something, and you want to find out, you know, how do I make my bullets hit where the reticle, where the cursor is, where the dot is, then we would do, you know, on my channel we would have, you know, tutorials. And here's the thing. Granted, there's a million tutorials on YouTube, but so many of them are done by people who've never been broadcasters, who are not good storytellers. And if there's one thing I can do, it's tell a good story. And like my friend Angry Tom, great guy. And I mean, you can't beat his resume, you know, 10 years in Delta Force and 8 years on the ground in Afghanistan and all that. But he's not the world's best communicator. And so that would be kind of, you know, bridging that gap. So yeah, so that would be that would be the concept. And then also, my thing has always been, and I've never ever advertised anything different than this. I am not a North Korea expert, but I am in communication with the North Korea experts. My contacts at Busan University down there, and then the Middlebury Institute for Strategic Studies up in Monterey, they are the experts. They're the PhDs. And then the question was hook up with SOFREP. And SOFREP was started by Brandon Webb, the former SEAL. And I have been warned away by people in that community. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know him or know anything about him. But I would just say this. I have been warned away from his various endeavors. You know, and keep in mind that there's a lot of guys who are selling their resume, not their content, their resume. And I think that, and you tell me, I think I sell content. Not my resume, because I'm not special forces. I'm a ground pounder. I'm a regular troop. I'm a cavalry scout, tanker, and infantry guy. I don't have a ranger tab. I don't have any of that shit. I just have combat time. So I'm not sitting there, you know, selling my resume, you know. So, but what I do know is I do know a lot of people who have done that, and we are friends, and they know that I'm a good middleman. Here's the deal about 12 Strong. I bought a ticket to 12 Strong last night, and right around 9 o'clock, I'm almost caught up to season 4 in Peaky Blinders. So I'm sitting there on like episode 5 of season 3, and I realize that I might be able to crank out the rest of season 3 and then start season 4 tonight of Peaky Blinders. So this is a new feature of Fandango. They didn't do this before. I guess Fandango's on my phone. You can cancel a ticket on Fandango. And so I canceled the ticket, and I ate the $1. You know, because, you know, fuck it. I mean, I was really, really tired. And 12 Strong looks good, but I know it's a cartoon. The book, The Horse Soldiers, is terrific. A really, really good book. To make it a movie, I know exactly what they have to do to make something a movie. Believe me, I know. So did not see 12 Strong. I'm waiting for Hostiles. By the way, Hostiles looks great. I mean, I love a really good Western. and Christian Bale and all that. Hostiles looks really, really good. No, Jimmy Kimmel has not responded on Twitter back to me. He has his head writer out there, by the way, arguing with people. And then we have Jimmy and I have we go back way back, but we have a mutual friend. And the mutual friend actually, we were talking earlier this morning, and the mutual friend said, yeah, Jimmy's wondering why you're going at him on Twitter. And I said, well, you know why? It's because he never left the entertainment world, and I'm in the news world now, where I'm responsible for my knowledge and the things I say, and I really don't appreciate, wacky sidewalk interview Jimmy, picking up a paper for 10 seconds and maybe Wikipediaing Congress and deciding that he's an expert on how legislation is done. I mean, because if you don't know what's going on, Jimmy Kimmel today or yesterday responded to Speaker Paul Ryan's Director of Communications, because Jimmy is shocked that Congress would negotiate before passing a law. He just can't believe that Congress wouldn't just slam dunk the chip, which is a bipartisan thing. The Children's Health Insurance Program has been a bipartisan thing for 20 years. Okay, it always is. And the longer you authorize it, the cheaper it is. No one's saying this, but ever since the Republicans cut off the mandate that you have to buy health insurance, savings on CHIP are going to go through the roof. That if we fund it for 10 years, it can save $6.2 billion. So great. Of course, the Republicans want to pass CHIP, but Republicans also want better border security, and they want better terms on DACA, on the Deferred Action for Child Arrivals, the Dreamer thing. Well, so this is what you do. We have, Republicans have leverage on the Democrats right now, and we're using leverage. The Democrats want a clean DACA bill and a clean CHIP bill. Well, that's so weird because they didn't want a clean Affordable Care Act Obamacare bill. And so each side gets to play that game. So Jimmy was going on there today or 2 days ago saying, how dare you use children as leverage? It's like, grow up. Welcome to government. Now that government is your new hobby, why don't you get up to speed on that shit? Because this is how laws are made, bro. And how's that any different than Democrats delaying on a defense bill? I mean, in that case, they're using our national defense as leverage. But so anyway, my advice to the Sarah Silvermans and the Jimmy Kimmels is, look, you're multimillionaires because you're funny. And then I pick and choose who I want to watch and follow and think is funny. I think you're way less funny when I know that behind that funny is some uninformed vitriol. Same with Roseanne. I never thought Roseanne was funny anyway, so it was pretty easy for me to slam dunk her. And then Rosie O'Donnell, seriously? I don't want to hear her opinions. When she got into her 9/11 crap, there was a time maybe she was funny, but when somebody like Rosie O'Donnell starts getting into 9/11 conspiracies, and what did she say on The View once? She was talking about 9/11, and she said, for the first time ever, fire melted steel. Well, I would look a little further into that stuff, Rosie, because I think you'll find that that's how they actually make steel. No, I know too many ignorant millionaires. That's the thing that what Hollywood produces is people who are lucky that they have a skill that someone will pay to see. Their skill might be, I'm good looking, like Brad Pitt. Or their skill is, I'm funny. Great. But when one day you have some free time and you dabble into government and you start reading about CHIP and DACA and all that, then I have the option to turn you off, whether that's the NFL or Jimmy Kimmel. So like in the case of Jimmy, like I say, we go way back. We go way, way back. But I am not impressed, and I like him. He's a good guy personally, but I know what happens when you become a millionaire and then you start running in those circles. Um, then pretty soon, you know, part of your own self-identity comes from, you know, your own virtue signaling. So that's what annoys the living shit out of me from guys like that. You know, I'll say this about um, Bean from K Rock. Bean makes a lot of money, millions of dollars, you know, the whole thing. Um, but he keeps his politics to himself, and I appreciate that. He knows what his lane is. He's also a really, really good guy. I know on K Rock he comes across as like some cold, you know, cold wife killing, you know, whatever. He is actually a really, really good guy, and his wife is a really, really nice. They're really, really good to our daughter. Um, we watch all the Seahawk playoff games at their house, and you know, he's a really good friend. He's been a really good friend for years. And I'll be honest with you, I really don't know what his politics are because that's how close he plays that to the vest. And he's an equal opportunity jokester. But his father was a career Navy cryptologist. You know, so Bean spent a lot of his time overseas. You know, as his dad moved around during the Cold War, his dad was one of those guys who, when he went to the dentist, he had to have a security guy with him in case he was, you know, unconscious. So you know, Bean has traveled the world. He gets it, and so I really, really appreciate the fact that you really don't know what his politics are, because the guy understands. Hey, I'm getting paid to be funny, you know, not to vomit my opinions. So I, on the other hand, am being paid to vomit my opinions. And this is one of the things, one of the really great things about my friend Kennedy is, you know, normally on TV, when you get a pundit, you know, you'll get like General Keane on Fox or Admiral so-and-so. Well, General Jack Keane is a, you know, he's a spiffing enough bloke, but the guy has not been a combat soldier at the battalion level or below since the 80s. And when they were using him for insight, I mean, I'll never forget 2003. I'll never forget 2001. Some of the people they were using for insight into infantry combat had never walked a mile in their life. I mean, some of the naval aviators and some of the Air Force people that they had on who were talking about ground combat in Afghanistan had not walked a mile in their life. And when the invasion of Iraq came along, I was not seeing anyone with expertise in counterinsurgency or infantry combat or urban combat, and so it was it wasn't good content. But the average American watching Fox or MSNBC, you know, all they see is General so-and-so. And they go, oh, well, this guy must know everything. And then one time I saw Fox talk to an admiral about FOB operations in Iraq, about forward operating base operations in Iraq. And like, you know, the guy's a fucking admiral. You know, he wouldn't know a compass. He wouldn't know how to walk a mile, you know, if he could. So anyway, that's where Kennedy, you know, Fox had asked her once, you know, hey, who's that? You know, what's that guy's resume? You know, he's just a talk show host. And look, there's Phil Light. And she gave him my resume, and she said, no, he's got kind of an extensive overseas operational resume with the U.S. military, and you know, and plus he is. He's able to read stuff and contact people and get the information. So that's that deal. I can't be a permanent part of Kennedy because I'm not moving to New York. To be a contributor, you have to live in New York. You have to be available at all times. So I would love to do that gig, but I for what they pay, you can't live in New York for what they pay. You know, maybe Connecticut or whatever, but so, and besides, I kind of want to do my own thing, so that's why we're doing this. because I think there is a future for this. Also, you've heard me fill in on Buck Sexton. You know what used to be America Now? It's now Buck Sexton Show. Andy Dean did America Now, and that's when I started filling in, for him. And then Meghan McCain did America Now. In between, they actually talked to me and Kennedy about doing America Now, that I would be in L.A. and she would be in New York. And we would be, a show that used to be a show, and now we're bi-coastal. And it would have been, a really good show, but Premiere passed and they hired Meghan McCain. She didn't work out. And then they hired Buck, and so now it is the Buck Sexton Show. And Buck is a really good national security guy and stuff like that. And so that's why he has me fill in, because he's a guy that appreciates, if you're going to have somebody fill in, it should be someone who maybe is in the same wheelhouse. So that's that deal. Here's the question from Hargrove, and you're up there, right? Didn't you tell me that? There's 2 stations in Seattle I used to work at. KVI, which was the first all-conservative talk station in America. All right. Sorry, we had a hiccup. KVI in Seattle was the first all-conservative station, and I did the afternoons there. Then I came to KFI, and KVI made an offer for me to do the morning. So I went back there, and it was run by a complete moron who changed format 6 months into it. So I had a 2-year no-cut contract, so I stayed up there. The other station, KTTH, I like KTTH. I wanted to do their morning show, but the program director, who's from LA, it's this kid named Jason Rance, he decided that the guy's never done mornings. He decided that he could do the morning show better than anyone else, so he's doing the morning show. If he crashes and burns, then, that's on them. But they know how to contact me. Also on The Truth, the afternoon show, Todd Herman. If you want to hear really good conservative talk, you should stream Todd Herman from KTTH AM 770 in Seattle. Longtime friend, great conservative voice, and I would love to do the morning show or the midday show and hand it off to Todd. Todd and I might actually do some little simulcast here about state-supported high-speed rail. Yeah, I know that. I got to say, the Bay Area used to have, KSFO and KGO, right? And there's no conservative talk up there. And I would love to. I'd love to live up in NorCal, and do a remote show or something like that. Living in San Francisco is kind of tough, but I would love to live. I would love to live somewhere up there. It's funny because where conservatives in Washington State, as seen here, where they think, oh my God, we're going around the bend. It's at the point of no return. You're not even close. California is at the point of no return for a couple of reasons. The Democrats have weaponized illegal Hispanic voting. They currently have a majority in both in the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branches of California state government. The only reason they don't have a super majority in the assembly is because 2 of their dirtbags had to resign because they were raping interns. So they're short of a supermajority. The deal in California is you need a supermajority to pass a tax increase. And so they have that. When they put the 2 rapists, when they replace the rapists, and they'll find some other full-time government job, because that's what they do here in California. But that's where we've gone around the bend in California, because now you have a never-ending stream of voters who are stupid, who will buy any bullshit from the Democrats about how the Republicans want to starve you to death and separate families and all that bullshit. So they scare Democrats into voting for them. The Democrats overwhelmingly are low income. 80% of them are low income. 20% of them are middle and high income. And of course, 1% of them are the very highest income in California. Inevitably, everybody in Hollywood, and we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars of net worth, are liberal. It's a disease. And with that kind of mandate, the Democrats rule the state. And so that's why we have a sales tax and an income tax. In Washington State, you don't have an income tax. You have a sales tax. The minute you allow an income tax and a sales tax in, you can never undo that. So that's the big difference. The other thing about California is that it's a demographic time bomb. And part of the reason for that is that the California GOP is not making any effort to recruit middle-class Hispanics. They're surrendering Hispanics and black blue-collar voters to the Democrats. And it's part of the reason is because the California Republicans are really, really afraid to speak about this in stark terms, the way that I speak about it. And it's really, really simple. Illegal aliens have stolen blue-collar jobs from blacks in California. In the 80s, 30 years ago, a roofer or a drywaller or a mechanic could send 3 kids to college. Not anymore, because all those jobs are filled with extremely low-cost labor. The California GOP could use the words I just did, and they could probably increase their votership by 10%, because what is happening down in South LA, what's happening down in Compton, et cetera, is a sea change. It's a complete, it's not gentrification, by the way. It's not hipster white people moving into old, cool old 40s houses. It is a sea change ethnically. And then part of the other reason for that sea change is that a lot of multi-generational, 3rd, 4th generation California Hispanic are becoming middle class. And guess what happens when you're middle class? You start having to pay more taxes. And so what California does is they'll keep raising the poverty level so that, you can make $85,000 a year, but you still are eligible for a bunch of state programs, because maybe that's how you grew up and that's how your grandparents grew up. So you think that's normal. You think that middle class people should be getting government handouts. And then one day you make $87,000 and you're no longer under the poverty line. So there's a huge potential for California Republicans to stop playing like the team that loses to the Globetrotters, which is what they're doing. But they're not doing it. And so I don't like using the racism term, but I got to say, a lot of the old school Republicans, especially some of the Orange County old school Republicans, God bless them and everything, but when I go and speak in those rooms, speak at lunches, at country clubs, I don't see black faces and I don't see brown faces, and I see occasionally Asian faces. But there's something really broken, because it's not like there's not rich Hispanics or rich black or rich Asians. Anyone who starts making money in California immediately says, whoa, I didn't see that shit coming. You mean I'm paying for all that shit? And so that is the recruiting pool. And by the way, the higher your income, the more likely you are to vote in off-year elections, right? So that's important as well, because that is how you fight the Democratic majority in the Assembly, is in that off-year election, in the elections 2 years away from the presidential election. That's how you win the Assembly. You don't do it every 4 years. This 2020 election, whoever the Democratic nominee is going to be, they're going to marshal minorities. And hang on. Interestingly, because black unemployment is lower than it's been in 40 years, Trump got more votes than Romney did from black voters. So you might see a lot of black voters peeling away from the Democrats. And of course, to the Democratic Party, you're a race traitor if you vote Republican. Well, look, the Democratic Party is the closest thing to a plantation that there is today. And the Democratic Party asks everyone to be in the field or up there on the porch, but don't ask to come into the kitchen. Only Obama and Donna Brazile are allowed there. And if you're on their plantation, they will provide 3 hots and a cot, beans, blankets, and Band-Aids. So if you don't like the word plantation, then maybe say reservation. But it's a dependency party is what it is. And for a lot of millennials, this is what's scary. Unless they're starting up a business, the deal is when you start talking about individual responsibility and keeping what you earn and keeping a maximum of what you earn and things like that. For a lot of them, you're speaking Swahili. They don't hear that in school. They don't hear that at all. They don't. They hear that you should always be working for, the good of others, or whatever. Hey, that's fine. That's fine. But you're not going to have anything for others unless you have something for yourself. Unless you want to just give away all your shit, which is an option. It's not illegal to give away all your shit. But my daughter is learning. Because by the way, if you go to the Facebook page, Ray's Farm Eggs, at Ray's Farm Eggs, my daughter, my 8-year-old daughter, manages we sell eggs locally to people, and then I bring them down to Burbank to a couple people and all that. She's the one who I taught her to do the math and subtract the cost of the feed, and then maybe put a value on your own labor, and the whole thing. I'm showing her what my dad didn't show me. My dad was an air traffic controller. He worked for the government all of his life. From the age of 17, when he joined the Navy in World War II, to when he retired, my dad worked for the government. And I mean, God bless him, but he was not really good at the private sector. My dad, first time I got fired in radio, my dad was blown away. Like, well, they fired you? Did they transfer you somewhere else? And I said, no, Dad, I got fired. I got shown the door. So my daughter is running the eggs and things like that. Then also my daughter makes these clocks. And if Jolene is still on here, I know I said this before, but we're going to make your clock today and mail it to you. But these clocks, my daughter makes these. It has Kim Jong-un's face in the middle. And then at 12, 3, 6, 9, and the hour and minute hands are missiles. So she makes those and she sells them. And I think I pinned it at the Facebook page, but she sells them for $30. And she's more into the chickens though than this. So anyway, there's a lot of kids, a lot of people in college who are being taught by people. Then I'll put that back up then, Vince. I'll tweet it out. It's paypal.me. It's kind of a long URL, but if you follow me on Twitter, I'll put that back out. But there's a lot of people in college who are being taught by people who have never spent a day in the private sector. I mean, besides Barack Obama, and you can tell how somebody negotiates, like he did with Iran. That you had an entire White House full of people who had never worked in the private sector. Startup cost on 5 chickens was a question. There's an initial cost, unless you're confident that you have a good fence and they can stay in your backyard. In that case, they just need a little coop. They need a place to go at night for you to lock them in there. And also to go in there during the days and lay eggs. So if you have a yard with no gaps, then a coop, you can, a coop is pretty simple. You can make it yourself out of plywood and 2x4s and maybe chicken wire. Or you can go to Van Dam Farms and you can buy one for $200 or look on Craigslist for, chicken coop. And that shouldn't be more than $100 or so. The chicken food is amazingly cheap. Plus, if you do let them in your yard, they're eating bugs, and they're really, truly free range. We're about to have 11 chicks today. One of my daughter's chickens, Tiger Lily, who's called an Easter egger, because Easter eggers lay green and blue eggs. But she got broody about 21 days ago, and the other chickens began laying eggs under her. So what we do when a chicken is broody, you let them sit on the eggs for about 8 days, and then you candle them. You pull them out one by one, and you put them under a light bulb, and you look inside. And if you can't see through anymore, or if you see a mass in there, then it means that a chicken is growing out of the yolk. So we numbered them, and my daughter monitors them every day, and they're all supposed to hatch today. So we're supposed to, sometime in the next 24 hours, we're supposed to get about 12 chickens. But lesson number one that my 8-year-old daughter knows is don't count your chickens before they're hatched. So we're thinking that 50% is a good would be a good result. If we got 6 chicks out of 12 fertilized eggs, then we'll be good. And then the other lesson that my daughter learned was that my wife just goes crazy about animals. She wouldn't be a good cattle farmer, not a good rancher. But we had about 6 months ago with our last batch of chicks, turned out we had 6 roosters. And as they got bigger and bigger and bigger, my daughter was noticing that they were more aggressive than the other chickens, and they were getting bigger. And so she named them Obacs, and that stands for one big ass chicken. And so as they grew into adulthood, they started raping the hens. And so the deal is there's good mating, and then there's surprise sex. And the hens were not laying eggs because the roosters were harassing them. So my daughter just came in one day and she said, "Mom, they got to go." And so we had Adlertag. we had the day of chicken death, and my daughter and I killed 6 chickens. And then after the killing, though, my wife helped with the cleaning because you have to gut chickens, and that's pretty nasty. But my daughter, she learned a lesson that they're not pets. They're either an asset or they're a liability. And if they're a liability, then they turn into chili. Because free-range chickens like we have, they're not fat. They are not like store chickens, which are grown for their breast size and their fat. Our chickens are really lean. We now have 3 roosters. We have our original rooster named Ruski, because I think he's Russian. And then our first chick that survived was his son. So we have little Ruski. And then we have the one rooster who laid low and he didn't rape and he wasn't, a bad guy. We kept him. And so his name is El Pollo Loco. So, which reminds me, I do need to go out and check on the chicks. You do not have to have roosters for the hens to lay eggs. However, if you want chicks or you want fertilized eggs, you need a rooster. I've heard that fertilized eggs sell for more than unfertilized eggs because they have a greater protein content, because everything that you need to grow a chicken is in that egg, right? But some of it it converts to a chicken over 21 days. But if the eggs are fertilized, but then you don't incubate them, they still have more protein. Because this is what's crazy is there's people who pay us specifically for fertilized eggs, and they will pay $2 per egg for a fertilized egg. And so there you go. But yeah, there's a big difference. I'm a total convert. I will never eat a store egg again because these eggs are so flavorful. They're so good. It's really amazing. And then also, it's a weird thing, and I'm not Mr. Zombie Apocalypse guy, but it's really good knowing that if the shit hits the fan, then we have beans, rice, and lentils. We have all the protein that we need. Plus, we have 12 to 15 eggs coming in per day. So, worst case scenario, it's you can barter with it. You could probably get a tank of gas a month into the big earthquake apocalypse. If I have a dozen eggs, you'll probably give me all the gas in the gas can in your garage or something. So yes, we love Chicken Run. Chicken Run's a good movie. So hopefully next time I'm on, maybe tomorrow, I'll have a chick here. So, all right, that's 1 hour, and that's way longer than I normally would go. But so our takeaway now is you can see this map better. That map is better contrast, so I need a way to switch between these two, and I need more light. Need more light here. So, all right. Then I have my marching orders, and look at that, it's not even noon. So maybe we'll do more current events and political talk later on, and for now I will sign out from the old-timey mic and the old-timey light bulb.